All right, good morning. It's the first Tuesday of February, and I am Whitney Nicely East. I am the principal broker for Whitney Buys Houses and a principal auctioneer for Nicely Done Auctions. We're in Tennessee and in Georgia, and every week I do a blab with a different woman in real estate talking about what they do and how they can help. And I'm very excited to have Julie Anderson Thacker with me this morning. She is my first Knoxville local friend in real estate that I hang out with and work with on a regular basis. And Julie, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us what you do and why you're awesome.
Well, I am Julie Anderson Thacker. I am a property manager and affiliate broker with Tennessee Valley Realty Associates here in Knoxville, Tennessee. I manage anywhere from 90 to 100 single-family homes right now. I've been in real estate for 11 years now, and it's getting better every day in Knoxville.
Now I buy houses and then I rent them, but I have somebody else manage them for me most of the time. Definitely they manage the apartments for me. Do you own any of these, or are they all landlords?
I personally own one. My broker owns a few, but the rest are just individual landlords. And I work with people from investors to the homeowners that can't sell their house quick enough. Some people get jobs out of state. They've got to relocate quickly. It's a lot quicker to rent a house than it is to sell it most of the time.
Oh, absolutely. So did I use the right terminology? They're still the landlord if they still own the house. You are the property manager. You do the day in, day out kind of stuff?
Exactly.
So what does the landlord still have to do if they get a property manager?
Well, they still have to pay their mortgage if they have one. And they have to keep insurance on the property. But I handle pretty much everything else for the property. I give them a monthly statement, a year-end statement. I send out their 1099 based on the income they've had from the property. I take care of screening the tenants, showing the houses, signing the lease. Unless there's something crazy that happens, they don't hear from me most of the time. I just send them a check.
I guess that's what a lot of landlords want, is they don't want to be bothered.
Exactly.
Now, I have another lady here in class with me, and she is you were a broker in Florida?
Excuse me.
This is my friend, Julie.
Hi, Julie. Well, I used to own a mortgage lending company. I've been a realtor with RE/MAX. My husband's a real estate attorney, and we're just now working with Myers Jackson, who is an auctioneer extraordinaire, including Whitney.
So she's going to sit in and sit next to me, so I may get her opinion here in a second too.
Okay.
Okay, so how would you tell a landlord or a homeowner? Okay, let's start with landlords. People that have been landlords for 5 or 10 years, and maybe they don't want to deal with it anymore, or they want to retire to Florida, or they want to just, sell off and not deal with it anymore. How would they start looking to hire a property manager? What should they look for?
Well, I would make sure that there is an online presence. All housing searches right now are done online. Nobody's looking through the paper, print ads. I would go online, Google search property managers for your area where your properties are located, and see what pops up. And then first start with their websites, then go to the Zillows and Trulias and see if they're on there. Online is the quickest way to get a house rented, and that's usually what landlords are concerned with. They want the income coming in.
Yep. So if I go out, is there like a certification to be a property manager, or do I need that, or do I not need that, or do I need a broker, or can I just hire somebody that has a couple houses?
Well, you can do any and all of the above. I would recommend finding someone who has experience and is a licensed realtor. That makes it a lot easier to have MLS access to tax records, pulling comparable properties. A lot of the people I work with, you never know when they're going to up and decide to sell their property. That's a very good tool to have if I can look up comparable properties really fast on the MLS. Experience is a big one. I wouldn't just hire anybody off the street to manage my properties. I wouldn't let, my mom do it or my brother do it or anybody like that. You need somebody that knows the law and can help you with your properties.
And the law could be different depending on which county you're in, right? Like the Landlord-Tenant Act. You want to touch on that for just a second and say, why that's important and what that is?
That's important because based on the population of the county, you can either fall under the Landlord-Tenant Act or not. Personally, regardless of the county, I try to abide by the Landlord-Tenant Act just to cover my bases.
And right now, what is the population that qualifies whether or not your county is in or out of the Landlord-Tenant Act?
Now, I don't know that off the top of my head now, Whitney. They changed it
5,000.
5,000?
Does anybody know the Landlord-Tenant Act? And
In
how many?
Tennessee.
Is that just in Tennessee, the Landlord-Tenant Act?
Yeah.
I'll say you could-
okay.
Each state has different laws, and the one that you're referring to is Tennessee's.
Oh, okay. I did not realize that. I thought it was nationwide. So it only qualifies certain counties. And right now, I know Knox County, Blount County, the big populated counties fit landlord.
Correct.
But
even Anderson County falls into that now.
Anderson County does with Oak Ridge, probably.
Yep.
Is that wrong county? Anyway, I think the whole state will adopt it because it's a good standardized policy. And if you're already following it, then you're already ahead of the curve, right?
Exactly. Well, it's a good protection for landlords and tenants. So I don't see why not follow it.
Now, you brought up an interesting point. If I had you managing my property and you are a real estate agent, so you could sell it, how does that work? Do you advertise it based on the cap rate or do you advertise it based on kicking these people out and living in the house, or how do you do that?
Usually my advice to a landlord, if they're wanting to sell a house, if they sell it as an investment, the lease comes along with the property. It's hard to kick tenants out just because we're selling the property, especially if they're, they got 11 months left on their lease. That's pretty brutal. A lot of times, if it's towards the end of the lease, I can sell it as a owner-occupied home. Somebody would move in after the tenants move out at closing. There's various ways to do it. Typically, it's tougher to sell a home that is occupied by tenants. They're not as willing to let you schedule showings all day long every day, but it can be done.
Your success rate of selling a house that has a tenant? I mean, do they keep it clean? Does the dog mess it up on purpose? I mean, what's that look like?
Well, it depends. If the tenants really love living there, they're not as easy to get along with during this time. But I have had tenants who are more than happy to help me out. Usually, if they're tenants that I didn't inherit when I was hired as a property manager, they're more willing to work with me. The ones that came with the house and the management contract don't trust me as much.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So I guess there's not a way to say, if I rent your house, we're not going to sell it. If their ultimate goal is to sell it, you would keep it listed and just have the tenants sign something that says that they know it's going to be shown.
Correct. Yes. And with the Landlord-Tenant Act in Tennessee, with a 24-hour written notice, you can have access to the house for whatever reason. So I do, if I do list a house that is occupied, I require a 24-hour notice to give the tenant time to prepare, clean up, whatever they have to do, but also so it doesn't affect their lives. They are living there. You know, if they had a big party planned or family coming over, you have to respect that.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about property management. So do you have contractors that you deal with, and how do you find those contractors to make sure, if the toilet leaks, you've got a plumber on call, or you say it's going to be a weekday between 9 to 5?
No, I am pretty stringent about maintenance requests. I have a hard time sleeping if I know tenants are uncomfortable in their housing situation. I have wonderful contractors that I work with that get out there very timely. I have an HVAC guy. If I call him, he's out there the same day, which is wonderful. Because a lot of the big HVAC companies, they'll put you on a week wait before they even come look at it.
Yeah.
And usually it's something simple.
Yeah. How do you find these contractors, though? I mean, did you just already know them, or how could a new property manager or somebody who thinks they want to do this themselves and not hire a property manager, how do they find these people?
The biggest asset that I've had in finding contractors and vendors is I am a member of a BNI group, which is Business Networking International. And you can have one person in each profession. I'm the property manager. There's a plumber. There's a handyman. There's a general contractor. There's all kinds of different services. That was the quickest way to find a group of contractors. Now, since then, I've met other people through that way, other contractors through my contractors. So I've got several people I can call on at any time. Because sometimes requests come in 2 or 3 at a time.
Yeah. And I actually went to your BNI. You let me come as the auctioneer last summer. Thank you for that. That was fun. Okay, so I'm in a classroom setting. And if y'all want to come around here, this is Blab. This is what we're doing. This is what I was talking about yesterday. You're welcome to chime in or watch or whatever you want to do. And there's other people. I see one of my friends, Donald. He's popped in. Good morning. So I'm teaching the masses about Blab and how fun it is.
Yes,
and
this is great.
This is all about real estate. We're doing real estate auctions. That's what this class is that I'm in today. And so I thought it would be an awesome way for them to get their message out would be on Blab. So y'all can hang out, check out, whatever you want to do. Julie, I had another question for you, though. The CAM, yes. Would you like to introduce yourself and ask Julie a question?
I'm Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
I have a question because I was kind of like listening to what Whitney was talking to you about. And in Florida, they were talking about property managers, but there's also CAMs. And I don't know what each one of those represents, but it's basically along the lines of a property manager, but it's more. Have you heard of a CAM?
The only CAM I'm aware of is common area maintenance, and that usually applies to commercial properties.
Okay. This is different. Maybe it's different in Florida. I'm going to go Google it and then come back and tell you what I find.
Perfect.
But
tell us what you think it is. It's like property management.
It's like property managers. It's a little bit different. They serve the same type of role, but I think it's a step above, if you will.
Like they do more of what? Because I can't imagine. What would you do more, Julie?
I'm not sure.
Mortgage payment. I don't know. Do they cater to them, or is it like a higher end clientele?
It might be. I know we have one in our neighborhood that I last lived in, and they also work with not just doing property management, but they also work with existing neighborhoods that for their homeowners association, and they're very involved with that as well, with representation to help with what they can do, what they can't do, what they should do in terms of establishing, and modifying bylaws and stuff for the community.
I think you might need to become a CAM after you get your broker's license.
I believe I should.
She always sat in. I was the president of our homeowners association, and we had one, it actually was one of the gentlemen that was on our board, his wife. It wasn't a conflict, we made sure, but we felt good having her as part of our group because it added additional insight to the legalities that none of us were, aware of, because we were basically just homeowners without any of that type of knowledge in our background, and she brought a wealth of knowledge to our group.
Julie, you need to check into this and add it to your
Obviously.
expanded thread.
Yeah. Well, thank
All
you
right.
for that.
We'll check into that. Does anybody else have any property management questions? We have a professional rock star property manager with us this morning. No?
Who's
Good.
our rock star?
Do you ever auction properties? Because that's what we're talking about today. So tell me and the rest of the class that's listening about auctions.
I do
you
not
have any-
auction property. I rely on my friend Whitney to do that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, we're having trouble with the screen right now. It's blue. Julie, tell me the worst property management story you have.
I don't
Or
know if I
one
can
of the-
narrow it down to the one.
Tell me a common theme that you hate it when this happens.
Well, I hate it when tenants have unauthorized animals in the house. I had a situation where a gentleman had moved in a couple of pit bulls, and I'm an animal lover, but pit bulls are not allowed on the properties that I manage, and he failed to obey this. And of course, he put a rope on this poor dog, and tied him to the front door so I wouldn't be able to knock on the front door. So that didn't end well for him.
What happened to the dog?
The dog got moved right before their belongings were set out. So I'm sure the dog is fine.
Well, when people talk about they don't want to be a landlord, they don't want to be a landlord because they don't want the headaches. What headaches do you deal with on a regular basis that most people are afraid of that don't faze you at all now?
Well, I mean, property management itself is a headache if you are not prepared. A single owner that doesn't know how to handle tenants, the laws, it is going to be overwhelming. But things that are problems to them are my everyday life. I can handle them easily and I don't sweat it. Tenants, I mean, whenever I've got a property on the market, it is insane the amount of phone calls I get. And I even have a rider on my signs now that say text for information. That way I can just send them a list of all the available properties.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But I still get hundreds of calls every day. And a landlord that isn't used to that is going to be frightened.
Yes. What is the reason that most landlords say, okay, I quit, I'm getting a property management? What is the final straw?
Maintenance issues are a big one if they don't know how to handle them. Also, if the tenants are being a pain, pretty much, if they will not listen or obey by the lease, or if they haven't paid in several months and that landlord has no idea what to do, they come to me. I start my management agreements a lot of times by doing an eviction.
And then you're the hero because they didn't
I'm the
evict
hero.
you. Julie chick did. All right. Well, I hate to cut it off, but I think we're ready to go here now. But I would like to have you again when we can talk a little bit longer and get into some more in-depth conversations because I know you have a lot more to tell me. So
I can talk for days.
I appreciate you taking the time this morning, and we'll schedule it again maybe for the 1st of March. Is that okay?
That sounds great.
All right. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate it. Oh, hey, tell us if people want to get in contact with you, how can they do that? Leave me your phone number, email, or however.
Oh, my little dog's going to answer for me. My email address is julieanderson@tvrasoldit.com. My website, which has actually all my contact information, is www.tvrasoldit.com.
All right. Well, that sounds great. I appreciate it, and we'll chat again or blab again in a couple weeks.
Thanks, Whitney.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.